Hello, and welcome to this week's video blog from the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. I'm co-founder of the center along with Richard Harvey, and today I'll be sharing a reading from Richard Harvey's book, Your Essential Self. And the title of this reading is Attachment to Personality and Character. Character is an inner defense system we create in response to our earliest life experiences. Although it exists primarily in the psyche, it is articulated in our physical structure, facial expressions, and body movements. These demonstrations of character are the nexus of our persona or mask, known collectively as the personality. We create personality by organizing inner objects. It is a process of selection, rather like the biblical separating of the sheep from the goats. What we like about ourselves is retained in consciousness. What we don't like about ourselves is relegated to the unconscious. Our choice is based on lovability and approval, as demonstrated by our parents, teachers, and society. The Jungian analyst Robert A. Johnson calls it the great leveling process that is culture. The art of personality is not being yourself. It is showing what you want people to believe is you. We become attached to our personalities, but personality is the creation of thought and experience, the way we make sense of events, a response to conditions, a defense between us and life. In the same way as we sense something constant beneath our changing roles, we recognize the reality of being behind our character and personality. Our small sense of self is expressed through character and personality. For the small self is not the intrinsic creation we believe it to be, but a delusion, merely a costume we wear. We are resistant to being ourselves, but when we refuse to be who we are compelled to identify only with our personality, and we become hopelessly superficial. As we explore our personal issues, digging away at the layers of self that protect us, we discover the buried issues underneath. Deeper down, we touch on the core issues, and deeper down still, we reach the central kernel of ourselves, where we feel our actual existence is under threat, where we feel that we do not exist. Our feelings, subterfuges, emotional and mental dynamics, manipulations, fears, and desires all fall away to reveal a deep truth. We would rather function in habitual patterns of behavior, perpetuating misery and suffering, constantly reinventing ourselves, and cultivating resentment, than face the existential horror of non-existence. This is the core issue in inner work. The real problem is not how we feel about ourselves and others, whether we are happy or not, whether we are fulfilled or not. It is that we have made a compromise to exist at any cost. When we discover this, everything is turned on its head. No longer do we need to develop, heal, grow, or make ourselves better. We see the layers of our small self as so many coverings over the true problem, which is the terror of not existing. Our neuroses become the pathway to the profound truth that we are not who we appear to be. We invest an enormous amount of energy in maintaining our emotional defenses. the energy it takes to stay mentally fixed, physically held, and emotionally centered reflects our determination to hold a position with our ideas and opinions, patterns, and character defenses. We define ourselves in constant mental chatter. This inner dialogue maintains us in illusory experiences and constant background anxiety. When we quiet the mind, we experience the great vividness, simplicity, and beauty of life. Our inner chatter confirms us in our roles and character by stating and restarting familiar themes. We become obsessed with unworthiness, anxiety, insecurity, regret, or inner conflict. The chatter invents and supports our fixed beliefs about ourselves and is reflected in our physical and emotional contraction. For some of us, this chatter is so overwhelming, and our hold on the self is so slight that we express it outward. I am a happy-go-lucky type of person. I'm a simple man. Everyone is so judgmental. People are so uncaring. All are examples of externalized mental chatter that defines us through denying and expressing our real feelings. After all, people with a happy-go-lucky character defense are resisting anxiety, and people with a character defense of simplicity are protecting themselves against handling complexity. We share a common source, but no two of us are ever the same. Clothed in our uniqueness, we see the world from our personal viewpoints, which is only one angle of perception. We take a position on an issue, and our opinion gives us credibility and confidence. Through it, we are a viable person, and we can be compared, contrasted, and competitive with other viable people. Usually, it is more important to us that we stand alone, distinct, and separate than what we meet in confluence with others. It seems that we prefer to argue rather than agree. The theme of personality extends beyond the individual expression of inner characteristics and perspective. Group or groups demonstrate collective, plural identities bound together by common characteristics that create a homogeneous connectedness. A small group community I knew exhibited this. Everything about them was chaotic and disorganized. My introduction to them was typical. They appeared one day outside of my house in the north of England in two battered Ford Transit vans with children's arms and faces flailing, hooting, and demanding directions to their destination. They set up their community and became near neighbors. As I got to know them, I found their life was severely disordered. Their home was untidy and messy, their thinking muddled and confused. They dressed messily and lived in a constant state of frenzy. Making arrangements with them was impossibly complicated. When the work that supported them fell through, they had to relocate, and the last picture I have of them is similar to the first as they drove off in their habitual pandemonium. Habit and identity tend to make our personalities and perspectives rigid and fixed. Everything is in a process of change, yet we perceive ourselves as unchanged creations. Our fixedness leads to familiarity, and familiarity can be stultifying. We are never so aware of our bodies. And when we take our first steps after being bedridden through illness, never so aware of the sunshine than when the sun shines through the clouds on a chilly day in midwinter. When we visit new continents, the culture is foreign and unfamiliar. We are fascinated by the landscape, the streets, and the architecture. The air carries unfamiliar aromas and sharpens our sense of smell. The sound of people talking, the taste of the food, make our senses acutely receptive. We are intensely observant, alert, and aware. But if we remain there, within a few months, it no longer seems foreign, and as we grow more familiar, we no longer give so much attention. Familiarity dulls new experience through the filter of memory and illusion. We struggle to familiarize ourselves with the unknown and the unfamiliar, and we render our experience bland. For fear of losing ourselves, we fix ourselves to consistency and become blinded by expectations and assumptions. As comforting and attractive as it can be, familiarity anesthetizes us into hypnotic numbness unless we are strong and wise enough to remain alert. Keeping our relationships to people, events, places, and activities fresh and alive, not familiarizing ourselves, presuming or predicting what will happen next, is the result of practicing being aware in the present. As our inner work leads us on toward change and transformation, beyond the confines of character and personality, we can prepare ourselves by practicing meditation with simple self-awareness so we can experience without assumptions and revivify the freshness and the brightness of our experience.